The night was quiet, too quiet for a house that grand. The marble floors of the Wellington mansion reflected the dim light of the chandeliers, but beneath that shimmering perfection, something was terribly wrong. Nathan Wellington, one of the most powerful billionaires in New York, walked through the long corridor with a heart that hadn't known peace for years. The coldness of his fortune echoed in every step, and for the first time, he wished he could trade all his wealth for something as simple as warmth. It had been 3 years since he'd adopted Michael. A boy of 8 then, small, shy, and broken in ways Nathan couldn't begin to understand. He'd wanted to make a difference, to do something that money couldn't buy. His late wife, Claire, had always believed that love could heal anything. She'd begged him, before her final breath, to use his heart, not his wallet. So, when he saw that lonely boy sitting in the corner of the orphanage, eyes wide and distant, he'd made a promise, to give him a life worth living. But lately, Michael had changed. He'd become silent, withdrawn, flinching at every sudden sound. The sparkle Nathan had seen when he first gave him a toy car or told him bedtime stories had dimmed. At first, Nathan thought it was adjustment. Then, he thought maybe the boy just missed his old life. But tonight, something inside told him there was more. Something darker. When the storm hit that night, Nathan was working late in his study. The wind howled, the thunder cracked, and through the noise, he thought he heard something faint, a whimper. It was so soft, so brief, that for a second, he convinced himself it was the wind. But then it came again. Louder. A cry. His heart pounded. He followed the sound down the hallway, past the grand staircase, into the back wing of the house, the part rarely used anymore. The air grew colder, heavier, as he approached the servant quarters. Then, he heard it clearly. A sob. Small, trembling, desperate. Nathan pushed open the door, and froze. There, in the corner of the dimly lit room, inside a metal dog cage, was Michael. His small arms were wrapped around his knees, face streaked with tears, his little body shaking. The sight knocked the breath out of Nathan's lungs. For a moment, he couldn't move. Couldn't think. He just stared. Michael. His voice broke. Oh, God, Michael. The boy looked up, eyes wide, terrified, not of the cage, but of him. And no, please, don't be mad, the boy whispered, his voice cracking. Nathan dropped to his knees, hands trembling as he unlatched the cage. What happened? Who did this to you? But Michael only shook his head, pressing himself against the back of the cage. His lips quivered, and then he said something that shattered Nathan's soul. Daddy said, I have to stay here when I'm bad. Nathan's blood ran cold. He pulled Michael out and wrapped him in his arms. The boy was freezing, his clothes damp, his little fingers bruised. No one told you that, sweetheart. No one. Who said that? Michael's sobs grew louder. The man with the big voice. He said you told him to do it. Said it's my punishment 'cause I break things. Said you don't want me anymore. Nathan's heart clenched so hard it felt like it might stop. He held the boy tighter, his throat burning. I would never say that, Michael. He looked around the room, fury mixing with confusion. The dog cage had been hidden behind old boxes, tucked away where no one should have gone. He saw a plate with half-eaten food, a blanket on the floor. This wasn't the first time. Who? He asked again, his voice trembling between anger and pain. Who locked you in here? Michael looked at him through tears. Mr. Carl. Nathan felt the name like a knife. Carl Jennings, his head of household staff, a man he'd trusted for years. Loyal, disciplined, and supposedly good with children. Nathan rose, his entire body shaking. Stay here, Michael. Don't move. He stormed down the hall, past the portraits and the polished doors, until he found Carl in the kitchen, calmly wiping down the counter. The sight nearly made Nathan lose control. What the hell did you do? Nathan roared, his voice echoing through the marble halls. Carl looked up, startled, but then quickly composed himself. Sir, I don't understand. You locked my son in a dog cage. Nathan slammed his fist on the counter. In my house. Carl didn't flinch. Instead, his lips curled into a smirk so faint it made Nathan's skin crawl. With all due respect, sir, that boy needed discipline. He breaks your things, lies, screams when you're not here. He doesn't listen. I was trying to make your life easier. By torturing him. Nathan's voice cracked, rage boiling beneath his words. He's a child, Carl. A child who's already been through hell. Carl's expression turned cold. That boy is trouble, sir. You don't see it, but I do. Kids like that, they don't change. He's not one of us. He never will be." The sound that came from Nathan wasn't human, it was raw pain turned to fury. He grabbed Carl by the collar, pushing him against the wall. "You ever come near my son again, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Carl sneered. "You'll regret keeping him." Nathan's fist clenched, but he didn't hit him. He just stared, shaking with rage and disgust, before shoving the man away. "Get out. Now. You're done." He called security, had Carl escorted off the property within minutes. But even after the man was gone, the damage remained. Nathan found Michael sitting on the couch, still clutching his blanket. The boy looked up, fear etched deep in his little face. "Is he gone?" "He's gone," Nathan whispered, sitting beside him. "He'll never hurt you again." Michael hesitated, his small voice trembling. "But he said, you'd send me back. That you don't want broken kids." Nathan's chest tightened. He took the boy's face in his hands, forcing him to meet his eyes. "Michael, look at me. I'm the one who's broken, not you. I lost someone I loved, and I thought I could fix it with money. But then you came into my life, and for the first time, I felt something real again." His voice cracked. "You are my son. Nothing and no one can change that." Michael's lip quivered. "Even when I mess up." "Especially then," Nathan whispered. "Because that's what family does, we love each other even when it's hard." The boy threw his arms around Nathan, crying into his chest. And in that moment, something inside the billionaire healed. The walls he'd built since his wife's death began to crumble. For weeks after that night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He'd see the cage in his dreams, hear Michael's soft cries. But slowly, he began to notice changes. The boy started smiling again, small at first, then brighter, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Nathan made sure every trace of that darkness was erased. He fired the entire staff that had ignored the signs. He brought in counselors, teachers, and even a rescue dog for Michael, because, as the boy said, dogs don't hurt, they protect. The cage was taken out of the house, but Nathan didn't throw it away. Instead, he had it melted down and reshaped into something new, a small silver pendant in the shape of a heart, engraved with 2 words, "Never again." Michael wore it every day. Years passed. The boy who once trembled in fear grew confident and kind. He called Nathan, "Dad," without hesitation. They built a bond that no bloodline could define. And though Nathan never forgot that night, he turned the pain into purpose. He started a foundation for abused and neglected children, creating safe homes for those the system had forgotten. When reporters asked why a billionaire would care so deeply about kids he didn't know, Nathan would simply smile and say, "Because once, one of them saved me." One rainy evening, years later, as Michael sat beside him on the porch, watching lightning dance across the sky, he asked, "Dad, do you ever think about that night?" Nathan nodded slowly. "Every day." Michael looked down, fiddling with the pendant. "I used to think I was worthless. That I was just something people wanted to throw away. But when you opened that cage, I realized something." "What's that?" Nathan asked softly. Michael smiled. "That love isn't about who you're born to. It's about who shows up for you when no one else will." Nathan's eyes filled with tears. He reached over and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You showed up for me, too, Michael. You made me human again." And for the first time in a long, long while, Nathan felt truly alive, not as a billionaire, not as a man haunted by loss, but as a father. The storm outside began to fade, leaving behind the scent of rain and renewal. And in that peaceful silence, Nathan knew, money could build walls, but love, only love, could tear them down. Because the greatest fortune he'd ever found, was sitting right beside him.